Hi, my name is Garbes, and I'm a graduate student at Morningside College and a teacher at Waterloo East High School. I'll be talking about writing instruction through the ACES plus D writing strategy for students with learning disabilities. Writing should be a priority in schools. Students write in every part of their lives, and it is important for them to develop writing skills that will help them to be college and career ready. Writing strategies have become a popular way to teach writing in the classroom. This study looks at one specific writing strategy, and that is the ACES plus C writing strategy. The ACES plus C writing strategy helps students to write sound sentences and to organize their thoughts in a paragraph. This also helps students to answer short answer questions. It is organized in a way to help students to break down their paragraphs. So first, they would answer the question, cite evidence, explain or elaborate, summarize, and then look at their conventions. This helps them organize sentences, but also gives them sentence starters to help them create sound sentences. I decided to choose this topic because my district has been implementing the ACES plus C writing strategy for a few years now, and students have increased their writing skills by using this. When ninth grade students enter high school, they have not yet been exposed to the ACES plus C writing strategy. So it is something I knew that I could teach them to see how they would grow and look at the effectiveness of the ACES plus C writing strategy, specifically for students with learning disabilities. Writing is a necessity. Strategies need to be introduced to students with learning disabilities because they do not have the basic skills needed for writing yet. High school students, including those with learning disabilities, continue to struggle with their writing, and they're not entering college with the correct tools they need to help them be successful with their future. Writing is an important part of being college and career ready, and writing is an important part of learning in the classroom. Existing research shows that a lot of writing strategies use acronyms. One of these writing strategies is COPS. This helps students to break down sentences. So students will learn how to capitalize, look at their overall appearance of their sentence, make sure it is a complete sentence and not a run-on, then what is the proper punctuation for that sentence, and then look at spelling. Acronyms through writing strategies can also look at paragraphs. Go For It Now requires students to name a topic, list out their details in order, and then wrap it all together by restating the topic. Writing strategies help students to write sentences, but it also helps them to identify recurring errors on their own, according to Schumacher and Drescher. Students need to learn how to self-regulate as writers in order to produce well thought out and developed work. Part of self-regulation strategy is knowing what skills make up a good writer and what skills are needed in a good writer. Students through self-regulation look at their own work, but they can also look at peer review, and so they develop what a good writer actually looks like. These past researches have been deemed successful. For COPS, those researchers found that the proficiency was reached by students with an average score on their post-test being 92%. McConnell, Little, and Martin, with the Go For It Now strategy, saw a 38% improvement rate on post-test scores, and about 3 out of 4 students made improvements in their writing. When it comes to self-regulation, the researchers found that those students felt more confident in their writing after being taught different strategies through self-regulation. The gap in the research includes the fact that there are not a lot of widely researched writing strategies. The ACES writing strategy is beneficial, according to Schwago and Burley. However, it has not been researched to determine the effectiveness of ACES plus C writing on students with a learning disability. Is the ACES plus C writing strategy effective for students with learning disabilities? This author looks at the purpose being, this study was to evaluate the effectiveness of the ACES writing strategy on writing ability among ninth grade students with learning disability. Only in recent years has the focus come back to writing instruction, such as ACES plus C writing, which is attempting to close the gap in the writing. This author predicts that when students with a learning disability in high school are taught the ACES plus C writing strategy, student academic achievement will be increased through the rubric scores. This study focused on writing interventions using the ACES plus C writing strategy, only with ninth grade students that had an IEP writing goal. This is a quantitative study. The ACES plus C writing strategy and instruction was the independent variable. The dependent variable was the writing skill measured by the ACES plus C writing rubric. There's little to no studies that directly discuss or assess the ACES plus C writing strategy and its impact on high school students. The ACES plus C writing strategy can be beneficial, and it also shows how students make growth in their writing, and that is what the impact would be, is to see if this ACES plus C writing strategy is truly effective and really did help students grow in their writing skills. Within this study was only done with 9th grade students, and all students had an IEP writing goal. There was one test group of 20 students with 15 males and 5 females. This was a racially diverse group, including African Americans, Hispanics, and white students. Parents were given a permission form to fill out and granted permission for students to participate in this study. The materials that were used in this study included the ACES plus C instructional matrix, which you saw at the beginning of this PowerPoint, and an outline that just broke down each part of the acronym so that students had a chance to write and learn what each letter truly means. They were measured using the ACES plus C writing rubric. This rubric is out of 20 points and can be converted to a percentage. So students, if they scored a 16 out of 20, they would receive an 80%, which would be considered proficient. All grading was done by this researcher and was done in an ethical way and without bias. Students were tested a total of 3 times as a means to collect multiple data points for this study. This is what the ACES plus C writing rubric looks like. So they get a maximum of 4 points for each letter, totaling 20 points. There are 3 different time periods that students were assessed over a 12-week period. So this study started with a baseline assessment. When students walked in the first day, they were given an assessment just to see where their writing was at the beginning of the study. So the baseline, they were given a prompt, they were told to write a paragraph, and the baseline assessment was graded using the ACES writing rubric. They were then given a basic writing interventions. This lasted for 4 weeks. This included teaching students how to write a proper sentence, identifying complete sentences and run-on sentences, and just looking at overall grammar. At the end of this 4-week period, students were given another assessment where they were given a prompt to write a paragraph. They were given the ACES plus C writing matrix, but were given no direction on whether to use that matrix or not. So students wrote a paragraph and then were graded using the ACES plus C writing rubric. During the 8-week intervention periods, this is when we broke down the ACES plus C writing strategy. So students learned all about the A, how to answer a question, and so on. At the end of this 8 weeks, they were given a post-intervention assessment to assess what skills and if their writing were improved over the course of the intervention period. Students were assessed a total of 3 times, once at the beginning, once in the pre-intervention, or once 4 weeks into the study, and then again, all at the end of the study. And each time they were recorded. The results confirmed that the ACES plus C writing strategy was effective in increasing students' writing scores. This first table shows the paired t-test, sample t-test results from this study, comparing the different time periods in which the students were assessed. So the baseline to the pre-test time and the pre-test to the post-test. Students showed growth the most between the baseline and the post-test intervention assessments. So the mean for the baseline was much lower than the mean for the post-test. There wasn't a lot of growth between the baseline and the pre-test period, but there was slightly more growth between the pre-test and the post-test period. Most growth was made between the baseline and the post-test. So it can be said that students did make growth and that the ACES plus C writing strategy is effective for students with a learning disability, even though students did not reach proficiency, which would be 80%. Again, this graph just shows the mean and how it progressed throughout the study after each assessment was given, baseline, pre-test, and post-test. ACES plus C writing strategy compares to other writing strategies that also use acronyms to teach students how to use proper writing skills. COPS and Go For It Now both are different writing strategies that are used and that use an acronym to teach students how to organize their writing. And ACES plus C also does this. Self-regulation compares to the ACES plus C because students are reviewing their own writing, but they're also doing some peer review writing. They're looking at, is the organization of my writing good? Do I need to change something? Do I need to elaborate more? Do I need to summarize? So they're able to look over and making sure that they hit every part of this acronym to make sure that they have every part of their paragraph completed. The use of the writing strategies has been proven effective through this study and through other studies. This connects to the theoretical framework of the cognitive theory of writing because students are learning how to construct their own writing when given a prompt. They use writing processes to use cognitive learning theory to help students to develop skills necessary for writing and making sure that writing skills are becoming fully developed. The ACES plus C writing strategy is a way for students to develop their writing skills and to be prepared for their future. This also works into social theory because they're playing a role with looking at their own writing, but also interacting with their peers to develop good writing. The implications in this study included students, teachers, administrators, and parents. For the students, they're developing their skills. Skill development for all students, and they can be used as a way to differentiate student learning in the classroom. Students can look at their own writing and know specifically what areas they have made growth and what areas they still need to work on in the future. Teachers and administrators, for teachers, the ACES plus C can be used across all curriculums. It can be used in math. It can be used in science. As long as a prompt is given, they can follow this ACES and the ACES matrix in order to complete a writing. It can also help with differentiation for students in the classroom. The ACES is a great way to help not only students with learning disabilities, but it should also look at students in the general education classroom as well to see if they can make growth using the ACES plus C writing. It helps administrators because they would use professional development workshops to implement writing strategies in their schools. For parents, they are part of the IEP team and the decision making for their students with an IEP goal area. For the limitations in this study, the smaller class sizes would be an easy one because there was 20 students within this test group, and typical small class size would be about 8 to 10. This would help with working with them on a more personal level, identifying which areas they needed help with, and assessing that and giving them the attention that they need. Gender balance was not evident in this study. There were 15 males and only 5 females, so any future research or future studies should include a more balanced gender equality. The length of this study could be longer. Time is a factor, as there was only a 12-week study, so the intervention period was much shorter. Future research could look at how do students make growth at the beginning of their 9th grade year to the end of their 9th grade year, or how does students' writing grow between the time that they start 9th grade to when they graduate from high school in 12th grade. Also, it gives time to create engaging and purposeful lesson plans during that intervention period. The fourth limitation would be the study was only completed with students with an IEP writing goal. What does this study look like when it is implemented with general education students? Do those students make more growth? Is it more effective for them? Or is it not effective for students in the general education classroom? These are future research questions that could be looked at to identify if the effectiveness of writing strategies is there, and especially with the ACES plus C writing strategy. These are the references that I use throughout my presentation. Thank you for your time.